Is anyone going to talk about this right here? This is Erika with Yair Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu's son.
Candace Owens just dropped what might be her most explosive claim yet. And this time, it is not just brushing up against Erika Kirk's name, it is pulling in a whole circle of people tied to her. The situation escalated fast when she suddenly brought Benjamin Netanyahu's son, Yair, right into the spotlight, and that twist caught a lot of people completely off guard. According to Candace, there is alleged evidence floating around that suggests Erika may have once been pregnant by Yair Netanyahu, and that statement alone has people talking nonstop.
And now suddenly she's on Fox News speaking Hebrew, telling Candace Owens to stop. Stop what exactly? Asking questions? Covering the story, exposing inconsistencies?
Now, everyone is digging back through old interviews, resurfacing past posts, and trying to piece together timelines. It is some kind of puzzle. But what really pushed things to another level is what Candace hinted may have happened surrounding that reported pregnancy. And that part has people raising eyebrows everywhere. She did not lay out every single detail, but the hint alone was serious enough to set social media on fire and spark non-stop debate. People are pointing out that Candace usually does not get this specific unless she feels there is something backing it up. And that is exactly why this moment is hitting harder than usual. Now that older clips and photos are popping back up, showing Erika and Yair moving in the same circles before her marriage to Charlie Kirk.
Things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, daddy's home, take his phone Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the table. Charlie and I have always been very clear on our stance. Israel, Jewish.
People are looking at those moments in a completely different way. Suddenly, everything feels suspicious and the questions are getting louder. Many are asking, was that pregnancy ever real? Why has this never been addressed publicly? And what else about her past connections has not been fully discussed? Right after Candace made the claim, social media users wasted no time and started digging deep into old archives like detectives on a mission. That is when one photo resurfaced and instantly shifted the entire tone of the conversation. This was not just some random modeling shot or an old campaign clip people had already picked apart. It carried more weight because of who was in it and the timing behind when it was posted. In the photo, Erika Kirk is right next to Yair Netanyahu, with Tyler Bowyer also in the frame, and that alone was enough to grab attention fast. The image was posted on June 13th, 2019, and that date instantly became a major talking point once people connected it to the timeline being discussed. That timing matters because it overlaps with the period when Erika was reportedly getting closer to Charlie Kirk, and now people are looking at everything with a sharper eye.
Out here, I was here for 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than go. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another.
The focus quickly shifted to figuring out how these connections may have lined up, if they even overlapped at all. And the speculation started building from there. It was not just about who appeared in the photo either. People locked in on the body language right away. There was no clear distance or awkwardness between them, and instead, they looked comfortable and familiar, which led some online to question whether their connection went beyond something casual. Still, it is important to remember that a single photo does not prove anything on its own. But with the larger claims already circulating, this image added even more intensity to the conversation. Before this resurfaced, there was barely any public talk linking Erika and Yair on a personal level beyond shared political spaces. Now, with this photo back in the spotlight and Candace's statements making waves, more people are revisiting past moments and asking if the full story has ever really been explained. But now that assumption is completely out the window, and people are going back over everything with a much sharper sense of doubt. That photo did not just suggest a simple crossing of paths, it made people feel like there was more going on beneath the surface. To a lot of viewers, it did not look like a first-time meeting at all.
With what Candace Owens said, that Charlie told someone right before he died, "I think I'm going to be killed." What's even stranger is Erika's claim that Charlie, a man known for saying that women should stay at home and raise the family, allegedly responded Erika would do a great job.
The way they appeared so relaxed and comfortable around each other had people thinking this was already familiar territory, not some random introduction. And once that idea started spreading, the speculation picked up speed fast and did not slow down. Questions started flying in from every direction. How close were they really? How long had they actually known each other? And what from that time has never been addressed publicly? For some watching closely, this no longer felt like coincidence. It started to look like a series of moments lining up in a way that raised serious eyebrows, especially since this is not the first time people have questioned parts of Erika Kirk's past before her connection to Charlie Kirk. After Charlie passed, Erika went viral for saying publicly that she had never dated anyone before him. And at first, a lot of supporters took that statement at face value without questioning it. But the internet did what it always does, and it moved fast. People immediately started digging through everything they could find. Old clips, archived posts, and photos began resurfacing almost instantly. And within hours, users were sharing time-stamped material that seemed to show Erika in past relationships years before she ever met Charlie. This was not just loose talk or random rumors either. Commenters were pointing directly to specific videos and images that appeared to contradict what she had said. Some clips showed her standing close with men in ways that looked more personal than just casual interactions, while others highlighted posts that hinted at longer-term connections.
Just, you fixing my, got a little bacon, baby, that's deep in there. Give them a cleavage, they people want cleavage. Showcase it.
Sex sells it.
As more of this content kept popping up, the online conversation got louder, sharper, and way more intense. The tone shifted quickly, and it was no longer about small inconsistencies. It started turning into something much bigger that people could not ignore. Critics quickly started calling it out as a direct contradiction, and they were not being subtle about it. Some users pointed to specific videos and flat out said, "This does not match what she said," while others posted older photos and argued they showed more than just simple friendships. It was not just one example making the rounds either. The content kept stacking up fast, post after post, clip after clip, and that constant flow made it hard to ignore. That buildup is what really took things to another level. The conversation stopped being just about her dating history and started connecting to everything happening right now. For some watching closely, the thinking became very straightforward. If earlier parts of the story seemed unclear or incomplete, then what else might not have been fully explained? That question is now at the center of the entire debate, and it is not slowing down anytime soon.
Resurfaced clip from Erika's Megyn Kelly interview, where she claims in it the now famous billionaire donor meeting, that same meeting where Charlie was allegedly offered $150 million and a trip to Israel. Bibi himself was on the phone and asked Charlie in one of his first questions, "What would TPUSA do if something happened to you?" Now, in hindsight, that question sounds less like strategy and more like
With that photo involving Yair already pulling attention, it pushed everything even further into the spotlight. Now people are breaking down timelines, revisiting old statements, and digging into past connections all at once, trying to figure out what actually lines up and what does not. The focus quickly shifted to one big question. Why are so many of these details only coming out now? That alone had people raising eyebrows. One of the first names pulled into the conversation was Cabot Phillips, known by many as one of Charlie Kirk's closest friends. And just hearing that connection was enough to get people talking. Not long after, a post resurfaced showing Erika and Cabot together at what looked like a painting session, and the caption really grabbed attention. It read, "Yes, we're that couple that gets painting lessons together," and people immediately locked in on that wording. That was not something viewers brushed off easily, and it pushed them to dig even deeper. As the search continued, another name entered the picture. Tyler J. Massey, and that added a whole new layer to the situation. There is video footage of Erika and Tyler auditioning together for The Amazing Race, and people quickly started analyzing their on-camera dynamic. Viewers pointed out how natural and close they seemed, with some even describing it as playful and intimate rather than distant or unfamiliar. It did not come across like two strangers testing something new. It looked comfortable, like something already established. Then even more photos started circulating, and many said they looked like engagement-style pictures. They appeared polished, intentional, and similar to the kind of images couples take when they are planning something serious for the future. At that point, critics began arguing more strongly that the claim she had never dated before Charlie did not line up with everything now being shared. What really stood out to many people is that none of this content was hidden away or difficult to find.
Telling me that just within 48 hours before Charlie passed away, his top Jewish donors were pulling funding from him, demanding that Charlie take their name off of the building that they had donated to Turning Point. I guess I can figure out who that is, how many people could have donated the building. And then once Charlie was killed, they said, never mind, put it back on the building. Okay. Charlie himself had alluded to a tremendous loss.
These were not locked behind private accounts or buried deep in obscure archives. They had been out in the open the entire time. They were never secret, just not widely talked about until now, and that realization made the whole situation feel even more intense. That realization shifted the tone all over again, and now the conversation was not just about isolated relationships, it became about awareness. People started asking a bigger question: who actually knew about this history, and when did they know it? Some observers pointed out this was not just a series of random, one-off moments. The posts, videos, and photos showed repeated appearances over time, and everything looked visible and easy to trace. Others argued that when someone makes a clear public statement about their past, it naturally brings more attention, especially if material that seems to challenge it is sitting right there for everyone to see. Once that doubt entered the conversation, it spread fast and pulled everything from that time period back into focus. Old captions were being reread with fresh eyes, archived videos were clipped and reposted everywhere, and familiar faces in past posts were suddenly being identified and discussed in detail. Each resurfaced piece added more weight to the growing timeline people were trying to piece together. Now, with that Yair Netanyahu photo already raising eyebrows, and these past connections adding even more context, some people believe they are starting to see a bigger pattern come together. To them, this is no longer about one claim or a single resurfaced image. It is about how all these pieces seem to line up and why the bigger picture only started getting attention after certain statements were made publicly. Because this material was always out there and easy to find, some are now questioning why such a strong statement about never dating before Charlie was made in the first place. That is where the speculation really starts to deepen, not with clear proof of anything wrong, but with growing curiosity about the motivation behind it all. For critics, the timeline itself has now become the main focus, and they are picking it apart piece by piece. Some even started wondering if there could be other moments from that same time period that were never meant to resurface. But the moment that truly reignited the entire conversation was an old clip from a 2015 rally that suddenly began making the rounds again. And once again, Erika Kirk appears in the footage, but she is not by herself. Standing right next to her is Tyler J. Massey, which did not immediately shock viewers since their connection had already been talked about. What really caught people off guard, though, was another individual standing between them. The way the three interacted stood out right away. They seemed comfortable, familiar, and almost in sync with their body language, and that detail had viewers watching the clip over and over again. Some online commenters said the whole scene gave off the vibe of a tight-knit unit, and that detail stuck with people. Back then, most viewers brushed it off and did not read too much into it, so any deeper speculation faded pretty quickly. But now, with that 2019 photo of Erika standing close to Yair Netanyahu making rounds again, everything is being looked at with fresh eyes. People are now lining up moments from different years side by side, trying to figure out if there are connections that were never clearly explained. Once those clips started getting organized into timelines, the conversation picked up serious momentum. It stopped being about random images or separate appearances and turned into something bigger. Questions about gaps between what was publicly said and what was actually documented. Some commentators are saying there are just too many overlapping connections for it all to mean nothing, and that idea is gaining traction. Others are taking a more detailed approach, breaking down dates, public events, and exactly who showed up where. But instead of clearing things up, each resurfaced detail seems to open the door to even more questions, not fewer. That is when Candace Owens' earlier claim came roaring back into the spotlight with even more attention than before. Now the discussion is shifting again, focusing on whether all these repeated appearances point to something larger. If these moments really do connect, it raises bigger questions about how everyone fits into the same timeline and what might have been happening behind the scenes during those years. And for many watching, the overlap feels way too noticeable to ignore. This is where everything really started to heat up. When Candace Owens first began calling out Erika Kirk, publicly, a lot of people brushed it off as just another political back and forth that would trend for a few days and disappear. At the beginning, that is exactly how it was treated, nothing more than a heated online clash. But that tone shifted fast once more photos, archived videos, and timeline comparisons started coming to light. As more material piled up, it became harder for some people to simply ignore the claims. What once sounded like a dramatic accusation started getting a much closer look, especially as overlapping connections kept showing up in different places. Some commentators now argue that the pieces seem to line up in a way that deserves real attention and careful scrutiny. At the same time, others are pushing back and urging caution, pointing out that conclusions should not be made without solid, verified evidence. That push and pull between curiosity and skepticism is exactly what is keeping this conversation alive and growing. Every resurfaced clip or image adds another layer, making people rethink what they believed earlier. Now, the focus is not just on Candace Owens making claims, it is on how those claims stack up against visible timelines and documented appearances. The situation has become more complex, with multiple names, dates, and public events all being examined at once. With so many moving parts, people are trying to sort out what is confirmed and what might just be interpretation, and that process is far from settled. Candace has been framing this whole situation as a form of betrayal, suggesting Erika was not fully open about her past, especially when it comes to her relationship with Charlie Kirk. When those statements first came out, a lot of people did not fully understand what she was getting at, and it mostly flew under the radar. But now, with all this resurfaced material circulating, some viewers are going back and listening to her words with a completely different mindset. At first, it sounded like just another heated accusation without much behind it, and many treated it like background noise that would fade out quickly. But everything changed when that photo with Yair Netanyahu started spreading again. Instead of calming things down, it made the debate explode even more and pulled more people into the discussion. As the attention grew, Erika responded publicly and did not hold back. She called Candace a clout chaser, accused her of trying to profit off her grief, and made it clear she wanted to shut down what she described as false narratives. The exchanges were sharp, direct, and impossible to ignore. But even with all that back and forth, one detail stood out to a lot of observers. She did not directly address the core accusation itself. That silence quickly became part of the story and pushed even more people to start digging on their own. At that point, it was no longer just Candace influencing the narrative. Online users began pulling up older profiles and connections independently. One resurfaced detail that caught attention involved Erika back when she reportedly used the name Erika France, appearing linked to Yair on Facebook, and that discovery only added more intensity to an already heated situation. Some users claimed that he had liked one of her photos during a time when she was reportedly already seeing Charlie. And once that detail started gaining attention, it added even more intensity to the situation. Reactions were all over the place. Some people stayed cautious, while others came in with much stronger opinions. One comment that spread fast across multiple threads said Erika's true love was Yair Netanyahu, and that line alone got people talking non-stop. That statement moved quickly through reposts and discussions, and as more users started digging into archived content, the whole situation began to feel different for those following closely. Moments that once seemed random or unrelated were now being looked at as possible overlaps, and that shift in perspective changed everything. Old interviews started getting replayed, past social media activity was double-checked, and nothing was being overlooked. Photos that once looked completely normal were now being broken down in detail, with people analyzing every angle and interaction. At the same time, not everyone was convinced by what they were seeing. Some pushed back hard, warning that online communities can sometimes connect dots that do not actually link together. They emphasized the difference between visible interactions and confirmed facts, and that contrast kept the debate alive. For every claim that surfaced, someone else stepped in to challenge it, and for every doubt raised, another person pointed to a screenshot or timestamp that added more questions. That constant back and forth is exactly what has kept the spotlight locked on the timeline. Now, it is not just about what has been shown, it is about how people are interpreting those moments and what they believe it all means. With so many people watching closely, the pressure keeps building as viewers try to separate what is actually confirmed from what might just be assumptions. Everyone is trying to figure out what could still be missing from the bigger picture, and that tension is only getting stronger. That is exactly why Candace Owens has not backed away from this situation at all. Because for her, this was never just about Erika Kirk's dating history. She has made it clear she sees that part as only the surface level. According to Candace, the real issue goes much deeper and touches on something far more serious than personal relationships. She has repeatedly suggested that outside political influence may have played a role in events connected to Charlie Kirk, and that claim alone shifted the entire tone of the conversation in a major way. Candace has also claimed that Charlie was dealing with pressure from powerful pro-Israel figures before his passing, and she did not describe it as simple disagreement. Instead, she pointed to what she called financial leverage, donor influence, and private demands happening behind the scenes, and those statements raised even more questions. Things escalated further when she brought up alleged direct messages during her podcast. Candace said that Charlie had privately told her he felt bullied, that he had lost major donor support, and that he was being pushed away from the pro-Israel stance that had been central to his platform for years. Those claims caused some listeners to re-examine the timeline more closely, especially since Candace keeps emphasizing that shift, portraying a moment where Charlie may have felt frustrated, pressured, and possibly ready to move away from a position he had publicly supported for a long time. In her view, that shift was not random at all. It was a turning point, and she keeps stressing that. Now, with Erika being publicly linked to Yair Netanyahu and seen in overlapping circles years before Charlie ever came into the picture, a lot of observers are rethinking the entire timeline from a new angle. The conversation has clearly moved past just who crossed paths with who. It is getting deeper than that. Now, people are asking how far those relationships may have actually gone, and whether any of them overlapped in ways that were not obvious at the time. If even part of Candace's interpretation is accurate, then this situation goes way beyond resurfaced photos or questions about past dating history. It starts shifting toward why Charlie may have felt pressure, who he believed was influencing him, and how Erika's past connections might fit into that bigger picture. Looking at it from that perspective, that 2019 photo suddenly carries more weight for some viewers than it did before. Not because it proves anything on its own, but because of how it seems to fit into the broader narrative people are now debating. And that is exactly the part critics keep pointing to. They say it still lacks a clear explanation, and that unanswered piece is what keeps the conversation going strong. Now people are split, and the reactions are intense. Do these connections actually point to something deeper, or is everything being pushed too far and overanalyzed? Drop your thoughts and join the discussion, because this story is not slowing down anytime soon.